Apple surprised us with the iPad Pro this year by using the immensely powerful, the infamous M1 chip to enhance the overall performance of this tablet. And this crazy M1 update made all of us Apple fanboys go nuts about it. Come on, let's be honest, is the new Final Cut Pro is gonna be on the iPad as well? Or is the iPad OS itself is gonna be more PC-like? Or is it gonna enable us to use more professional quality, that sounds wrong, like more, I don't know, detailed, intricate software on this year's iPad. And iPad OS 15 came out and everyone was a bit disappointed. iPad OS is good but not great. They have like a bunch of features or very more freestyled widget and whatnot, but I don't know how to say, it's not that we expected, and it's kind of a letdown, to be honest. I have a lot of things to talk about since I've been using this 2021 model for almost 100 days. So let me stop talking and let's get right into it. Alright, so let's talk about the most controversial thing about this iPad Pro, which is the price. The cheapest Pro model that you can get on the Apple's website is this 11-inch 128GB model, which is the model that I bought for myself and I've been using almost every single day. And the price of this tablet is $799 US. The most expensive iPad is the 12.9-inch model with the 2TB of storages. The price of this tablet is $2,199, and that just for an iPad, that's just like mind-boggling. My typical usage on this iPad is pretty simple, i.e. that's like note-taking, casual photo editing, and watching some Netflix, Disney Plus, or YouTube and stuff. FYI, if you're in Disney Plus, low-key was such a great drama. So for me, the 128GB variant of this iPad is pretty much enough for me, because since USB Type-C is allowed on this iPad, thank you so much, I can just move around my storages or like memories and stuff on the hard drive or SSD, and 128GB just is not a burden for my iPad. When you only see the cost of this tablet compared to, let's say, MacBook Air, which has the same M1 chip, so on the paper they should have the same performance, the price difference is not that drastically different. Matter of fact, I think MacBook will end up costing you cheaper than buying an iPad. Because let's be honest, most of the people who purchase an iPad will probably buy some sort of a keyboard, an Apple Pencil, screen protector, or a case for an iPad. And when you buy like those type of accessories, especially for iPad Pro, a bunch of accessories are kind of pricey if you want to get like the good ones. The price difference is not gonna be that crazy at all, because there's only $200 different compared to the MacBook Air and the iPad Pro. However, the MacBook Air will come with 256GB of storage and the keyboard and a trackpad, and for an iPad, if you want to upgrade to the 256GB model, that will end up costing you a little bit more. And if you're buying, let's say, an Apple Pencil, that's like extra, what, 130 bucks? So the iPad is actually expensive more than the MacBook Air. For me, if you don't have a PC and if you're looking for a M1 chip, some sort of Apple product, I'll just go for the MacBook Air, because for me, that's just way more worth it than the iPad. Don't get me wrong, iPad is an awesome device for a student, especially if you do bunch of handwriting note-taking. The iPad is just way freaking better compared to the MacBook, because typing doesn't goes into my mind. Like, I can't remember a bunch of stuff if I just type, but if I handwrite something, I can remember significantly better than just typing on a MacBook. However, there are a bunch of iPads on the Apple website. iPad Air, the normal iPad, the 8th generation iPad, the iPad Pro, refurbished iPad Pro. There are so many different types of iPads that are in the Apple website. And to be honest, I had an iPad Air 4 and that thing can do 99.9% of what this M1 iPad Pro can do. And the only downside of the Air 4 compared to this 11-inch model is the bezel is a little bit thicker and it doesn't have 120 Hz refresh rate. But if you can compromise that, I mean, iPad Air 4 or refurbished iPad Pro or even the upcoming iPad mini will probably do for you, and it can save you a lot of money because let's be honest, you will probably buy an iPad accessory at the end of the day. All right, I've been talking shit about this iPad a little too much, so let me talk about the good side of this tablet. And first is the battery life. The battery life on this thing is just amazes me. It's so freaking good. For example, I just went back to the States. Shout out to Naples, Florida, the best place in the States for real. When I went back to the States, I was on an airplane for around 12 to 13 hours. And me and my dad were watching The Mandalorian on the plane, and we watched full 2 seasons. And the battery life of this iPad was at 83% at the beginning, but at the end of the flight, we watched the full like 2 seasons and I didn't even turn off the iPad. I still had around like 32 or maybe close to 29%, and we were just amazed. And the brightness was pretty bright as well. We didn't really turn down. The iPad held totally fine. The battery life is perfectly straight. However, if you take a lot of notes or if you play a bunch of game on the iPad, you can totally kill this tablet at the end of the day, but I will guarantee that you can probably hit around 7 to 8 hours of a screen time, no freaking problem. The battery life on this thing is just fantastic. All right, let's talk about the display. Let's talk about the difference between 11-inch and the 12.9-inch. And let's be honest, I do actually prefer 11-inch compared to the big one. I used to have both of the iPad Pros, but 12.9-inch was a little too big for me since I wanted to use this iPad more like a notebook or book to read Kindle and take online classes, whatnot, and I wanted my iPad to be more compact compared to that freaking enormous 12.9-inch. And I know the 12.9-inch does have a benefit of the mini LED display, and I'm gonna be honest, if you're watching a HDR content, the 12.9-inch is pretty good, especially if you're watching some movie that is compatible of HDR on Netflix and whatnot. That freaking tablet is just really beautiful, and the top brightness of 1600 nits just totally kills it. It's really good. However, for me, iPad is more casual tablet. I'm not a serious movie watcher. I don't really care about HDR content and other stuff. If the screen looks good, I'm totally happy. The 11-inch model's display is totally fine. The color is accurate, the brightness is pretty bright, and the 120 Hz is totally awesome. So for me, the 11-inch is just enough. Like, I don't need nothing more than that. Let's talk about the processor. Having the mighty M1 chip on a iPad is totally ridiculous. I know if I say this, there's gonna be a couple people that's gonna be pretty upset in the comment section, but I used the iPad Air 4 for 6 months, and I even used my friend's 2018 iPad Pro for a couple days as well. And I have to say, for day-to-day usage, the performance of this M1 chip is just completely not worth it. It's just not useful for me in my purpose of this iPad. I usually do note-taking, photo editing, watching videos, and probably do some whiteboarding. I use a bunch of whiteboard apps. I don't know, I feel like I'm just wasting my money on this M1 chip because most of the stuff that people do on an iPad, I'm not talking about creative professional, most of stuff that people do, like general people that uses iPad, will probably be totally fine with A14 or even A12X Bionic chip. Now, I feel like I'm not utilizing the full potential of this chip at all. The only real advantage that you can actually feel from this tablet is probably on the RAM side. Since this tablet have 8 gigs of RAM on an iPad, which is pretty crazy, you can probably open gazillion of apps and you can always go back to your previous apps and it will just like start at the time you end that app. If you do every aspects of your work on an iPad, and if you don't even own a PC and everything that you do is gonna be on this tablet, I'll say go for the M1 model. Or if you want a device that future-proof for a very long time, I'm talking next 5, 6, 7 years, because I know for a fact that Apple will provide OS update for a very long time, and that's a very good thing, and the battery life of this thing is pretty crazy. So I'll say 5 years. If you really want to future-proof it, go for this M1 model. But anyway, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys like this video, please hit the like button and please hit the subscribe button if you like these type of videos. But anyway, guys, my name is Peace Gates, and you guys have a great, awesome day. But peace out.